Hey guys, welcome back. This time around I'm going to have my thoughts and recap of the Sony E3 2013 conference, which in my opinion, so far based on what I've seen, it blew away Microsoft's. And just to begin with, the price point of the PS4 was revealed, and it turns out to be that not only the PlayStation 4 is more powerful, considering the 8 gigs of DDR5 RAM that it has. So it's not only more powerful, it's cheaper, and it won't have to deal with any of those used game fees and all that connectivity that requires you to check in every 24 hours. So right off the bat, this is one of the most one-sided E3s that I can recall in recent memory. Of course, we have Nintendo, but we have Nintendo's conference tomorrow. But they're always in their own own little world, if you will. But as far as the two powerhouses, Microsoft and Sony, I think this is a clear win for Sony. But let's just do a quick recap and start off with the both the Vita and the PS3. Sony has pledged that they will be supporting both systems. Unfortunately, we did not get to hear any price drops on the Vita. I was hoping and expecting them to lower the price of the system, considering it's going to have some kind of connectivity with the PlayStation 4. So I was surprised not to find out anything about a Vita bundle or a price drop that will perhaps seduce gamers into jumping on board with the Vita. We did not get to hear any newer games, unfortunately. Then they had a PlayStation 3 montage where they showed games that we already know they're coming, like The Last of Us, Beyond Two Souls, Puppeteer, which it's looking great by the way, and Gran Turismo 6. So not a whole lot of surprises between the Vita and the PlayStation 3, but it's nice to know that they pledged support for both systems. Now the meat and potatoes of the conference was the PlayStation 4. As I mentioned, we did get to see the hardware, which is completely expected, and I'm not gonna lie, I think it looks pretty bad. Obviously it's just a plastic box, and what matters, it's on the inside and the power that the PS4 is gonna have. But I'm not a fan of the design. It looks, I don't know, it's a weird design, and I'm a little bit disappointed. But in the end, it's not gonna matter. It's the games that matter the most. But let me just scroll down through my notes here, and let's see what I have. They also showed Batman Arkham Origins for the PS3. Okay, then we have the unveiling. The DualShock 4 doesn't seem to have any major changes as far as the presentation that they did in February. And then let's see, we got the first game that really caught my attention was I'm trying to remember the name. I think it's called The Order, and it's being developed by Ready at Dawn. And it was a really confusing type of setting. It looked to be set in like the 18 or 1700s, and it was really weird. They were using like some sort of like cyberpunk weapons, like steampunk type of weapons, in this like industrial setting. Really weird environment, and they were fighting what looked like maybe zombies or some kind of monsters. But the game looks amazing. But I'm not, I don't know, it's really hard to pass judgment, because again, even though I don't think they showed CGI sequences, they did not show true gameplay. I mean, sure, the game is running on the same engine, but it's really hard to quantify a game when they're not showing the actual gameplay. So what they've shown so far, the game running in engine, it's extremely impressive. Some great lighting effects. So I'm really looking forward to finding out more about The Order It looks interesting, but it's not something that I would be super excited for, because I want to see a little bit more. Then we got to see Killzone again. We got to see the group of games that were already shown at the February conference, such as Killzone, Infamous, Drive Club, and all those games. Infamous Second Son is looking great. When they first unveiled that game back in February, I thought it looked a little bit, it looked good, but a little bit on the generic side. The new gameplay footage that they've shown, it looks really impressive, so I'm really looking forward to that game right now. They also show a little bit of footage from Knack, which seems to be like a 3D platformer. I'm not really excited about that game. The art direction seems a little bit stale. Among other good news is that they're gonna have a major indie game support, and they showed a bunch of really interesting indie titles that, according to them, a few of them are gonna be available for free if you have a PlayStation Plus account. So that's really cool. And then they went on and showed this like demo from that David Cage developed with his team, called The Dark Sorcerer. And it was like a comedy type of skit, I guess, where this sorcerer was casting a spell, and all of a sudden, they stop, and it turns out that he was actually recording some kind of like show. And the humor didn't do anything for me, but it was the actual quality of the graphics. It's really amazing how the level of detail in the character models, it pretty much looked like a real watching like a real movie. I was really impressed with how realistic the characters looked. And then we jumped on into the indie games. They all look good. And then they had an announcement by Square Enix in which they showed it was a little bit of a troll I guess announcement, if you will, because they said that they're in a hurry and they don't have too much time to show something new. But they ended up showing the new footage for Final Fantasy 15, and it's looking really good. The game really, I'm not a huge Final Fantasy fan, but the game looks really good, looks amazing. And I think it was interesting because the game seems to be set in some kind of medieval but yet futuristic type of environment. I thought it was really interesting. And the Final Fantasy characters, they have the typical Japanese hairstyles and whatnot. So and then right after the Final Fantasy footage, they showed Kingdom Hearts 3, which I think it's an exclusive PS4 title, which is cool for the fans of Kingdom Hearts. I'm not a big fan of the series, but for RPG lovers out there, that's a plus. And then they went on ahead and showcased a bunch of third-party games coming up, such as Assassin's Creed 4. Black Flag, which looks pretty good, but it was kind of funny because they had some technical issues where the demo that the guy was running stopped towards the end. So I don't know if that was a problem on Ubisoft's side or it was the actual PS4 hardware that they were using that had a malfunction or whatever. I'm not really sure, but it was a little bit embarrassing. And after that, they showed footage for Watch Dogs. And I have to say this, I was really anticipating this game, but I get the feeling the more footage that I'm seeing, the less interested I am in the game. I know it sounds weird, but it's almost like we've been way too exposed regarding Watch Dogs. So I think I'm gonna try and not watch any more footage of this game, because we seen so much footage up to this point that I'm already getting a little bit tired. But it was pretty much the same thing. You use your smartphone to control the environment, which is a pretty cool concept. So they have that going for them. They also had some sports games. They showed some impressive animation that are going to be part of the 2K14 NBA games, and starring LeBron James. And then after that, one really cool footage was Destiny. It really that's one game that really drew my attention, and I know this is not a PS4 exclusive game, but I think it for me was like the highlight of this presentation. There's something about I know it's a generic. At first, it looks like a very generic first-person shooter, but the whole online co-op really drew me into really drew my attention. It seems like the game has this really fun progression where you defeat enemies and you get power-ups and you can upgrade your weapons into like very creative types of weapons with different effects. And apparently up to 4 people can play at the same time, and the game runs great for having 4 people at the same time and for having tons of enemies floating around the stages. I think it was pretty impressive. So Destiny all of a sudden it's on my radar, if you will. And of course after that, I think Destiny was the last third-party game that we've seen footage, and after that came the major announcement. $3.99 in the US, $3.99 in the Euroland, and $3.49 in the UK, and the crowd just went crazy, and with good reason. I mean, that's a pretty reasonable price, and this is the point where Sony just went for the jugular and slaughtered Microsoft. I mean, you're paying $100 less for a more powerful system with better features that are not anti-consumer. So to me, it's a no-brainer. I mean, I see absolutely no reason for anybody to buy an Xbox One unless you're like a hardcore Halo fan, or maybe like a hardcore Killer Instinct fan. I'm a Killer Instinct fan, but I'm not gonna be picking one up. It's just too much money, $500 and as opposed to $400. The difference is $100. It may not sound like much, but hey, for a better system, it's a no-brainer for the going with the PlayStation 4, in my opinion. And of course, the show pretty much, the Sony show pretty much ran as I was predicting in my predictions video, with the exception that they didn't really say anything about the Last Guardian. But other than that, Sony did a great job of taking that list of complaints that gamers had from the Microsoft One the Xbox One unveiling, and they made a checklist of what to avoid and what to correct. And of course, we still need more details, but it sounds like the PS4 is going to be very similar to the PS3, where if you own a physical disc, you have ownership over that game, and you can resell it, you can give it to friends, you can trade it, you can do whatever you want. So that's really good to know. And for me, the choice is pretty clear as far as a powerhouse console for next generation. For me, is going to be the PlayStation 4, and I'm sort of happy because this generation I went with Nintendo/Sony, and it ended up working pretty well for me. I think both the Wii and the PlayStation 3 complemented well for my gaming needs. So I guess for me, next gen is going to be Wii U/PS4. So I'm definitely looking forward to tomorrow's Nintendo's Direct. So expect to see a video for that. And thank you guys for joining me, and I'll see you all later.